Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Daily Crypto Byte. Today is Thursday, August 26th, and we're getting some sell pressure hitting the market today. Lots to talk about, plenty of opportunities across the board here. Big options expiration tomorrow, which is kind of suppressing price and leading to some volatility. We'll talk about all that and more today. But before we dive into it, CJ, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Monty. Thank you. Definitely looking forward to going over some cup and handle patterns among all of the alts or many of the alts. So lots to look forward to today, despite the early sell pressure. So Bill Parker, it's good to see you. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, CJ, lots to look out for today. The thing that's interesting for me for Bitcoin here is not only the options expiration tomorrow, but what we might see leading into the weekend. We've got a bearish engulfing candle today, which is a bit concerning, but we're heading down, we're retesting the 200 period simple moving average. So perhaps we'll get a bounce from there, but you want to dive into the charts?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll bring it up.
Yeah, and Johnny points out more Bitcoin outflow out of Coinbase. I saw that as well. Right at around 47.5K, we saw a very significant amount, about $250 million worth of Bitcoin transferred out of Coinbase and into cold storage wallets. So,
yeah. So yesterday we had talked about this bullish engulfing candle that we got on the close. Just wasn't really followed up with any bullish price action. I mean, there was a little immediate pop up to about 49, close to 50K last night, but then very quickly sold off and is now actually finding some support at that previous Fibonacci level. I don't think this is necessarily the end of the trend thus far, mainly because it's taken a couple times to usually bounce off these top Williams alligator levels. Usually takes about 2 to 3 candles, and it looks like we're still kind of in that process. Nevertheless, it's difficult to trust a rally when you have divergences not only in the CMF but also in the RSI and the histogram on the MACD. So momentum has slowed a little bit here, and it is in retrospect not completely surprising to see of a pullback to some of these moving averages. But one thing I want to talk about today is kind of the cup and handle pattern, or the textbook cup and handle pattern. And of course,
CJ. Sorry, you pointed this out to us yesterday, and I was very surprised to see how many assets across the space are showing this very similar cup and handle pattern. So definitely worth noting, and excited to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah, of course, this is the perfect textbook example, and not every single cup and handle pattern ends up looking exactly like this. Sometimes we have, double bottoms or more of a V-shaped recovery, which we have in many cases of the alts. But the ones that I like, or the thing that's interesting to me in Bitcoin, is that we're seeing a pretty similar type cup pattern. And it looks like we may just be starting that pullback of the kind of handle before a potential test upward. Now, it is a bit rough. It's not the perfect formation. Nevertheless, I think the extrapolated price breakout levels are pretty interesting. So if we take this being the ultimate top of the cup at around 40 or roughly 50K, I would say. And then you measure the distance to the candle body close of the low. Obviously you could go to the absolute low, which would be 29, but let's just say 30. That's about a $20,000. That's a $20,000 move. And if you extrapolate that from the breakout target, that's goes from about 50,000 to 70,000 into new highs. So if we are to see kind of a springboard off the 45K level, or even at the worst case, say the 42 level, being this Fibonacci that we first kind of took off from, even if we do come down to this level, I still see us springboarding off of that level, potentially up into new highs as we kind of start the fall cycle. But that's what I'm seeing on Bitcoin today. Any thoughts you'd like to share as well when it comes to just the pure charts?
Yeah, just a few things here. So kind of like I hinted at the beginning of the show, I think it's definitely worth noting the fact that we're coming down and we're retesting this 200 period simple moving average. This, for me has been kind of a guiding factor in a lot of my trades across the board, looking for divergences from this level right here. And it is a very strong level. This is lining up right here at 45K. And we got a nice bounce off it. But I think, the real story of the week and what's going to be the driving factor heading into the weekend is what we're seeing here. The Bitcoin options open interest. This is from Skew. And what is most worth noting, in my opinion, is kind of how we have these double peaks here with the open interest stacking up, 40K, which is a bit concerning, but 45K as well, and then 50K. But note this trough in the middle right here where there's very little open interest stacked up at 47, 48, 49K. To me and to other analysts I've seen looking at this as well, this means that coming into this expiration on Friday, which is tomorrow, there's going to be a high likelihood of volatility in this range between 45 and 50K because of these options kind of settling and the fact that there is very little options volume between these two peaks of 26 and 46K or 45K. So that leaves some, room for some significant volatility and a nice battle being set up here between the bulls and the bears. So I think that's exactly what we're seeing playing out. It seems like the market kind of can't make up its mind, but I do expect this level to hold as kind of the, bottom threshold of price. So, what I'll be waiting for is a confirmation of a reversal here. This bearish engulfing candle is definitely concerning, but if we get a bounce from this level and a bullish engulfing candle, I, like our chances of springboarding to new highs after we get rid of the sell pressure from this options expiration. So lots to take into consideration coming into tomorrow, but I think much of the, buy and sell pressure will be sorted out once we make it through this options expiration.
I'm really glad you mentioned that because many times I feel those options expiration dates at the end of the month they can be very overlooked. Nonetheless, they do matter. So thank you for bringing those to light.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a question here from Bill Parker, CJ. I think it's actually a really good one because, we've been talking a lot about traditional equities over the last couple of weeks and looking at the S&P's performance continuing to make all-time highs. Any thoughts on this? Because also we talked about the retail crowd and how they haven't flooded into Bitcoin to the extent at which we saw earlier in the year or like we saw in 2017. So any thought that perhaps some of the retail participation is being stolen away by some of those, meme stocks like GME and AMC?
It's hard to say. I think it's definitely plausible. I actually want to look up some Google Trend data to try to answer this question with a little bit more empirical evidence. But just going off of the Bitcoin Google Trend data alone, it doesn't show that we're in like a largely retail driven bull cycle. This still feels like kind of a spring up from an accumulation phase down in the 30s. So I don't know how many of the retail traders are truly in yet, but I certainly see the merit in the meme stocks increasing. But one asset increasing doesn't always equate to another asset decreasing. But I'd love to hear your opinion, Monty, as I look up some more Google Trends on the meme stocks.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's really kind of hard to say, but I do think that, looking to the performance or even just the interest in GME and AMC, definitely is a good interest of, where the retail money is looking at any given point in time. If you look back to earlier in the year when we pumped, those stocks definitely did plateau a bit. And we saw that very same audience flooding into crypto, trading the meme stocks like Doge or the meme, cryptos like Doge, or even, some of the older ones like Ethereum Classic or Litecoin. And those really saw a pump. So I'd watch those retail bastions for capital. And if those start spiking in volume, I think that's an indication, that the retail money is starting to pour into crypto because they, speculate on those high return assets that, could potentially yield some very high returns. And, that's exactly what we've seen historically. So we'll see what the Google Trend data, but, everything that I'm seeing in terms of, anecdotally, just doesn't feel like we're at the, retail mania that we typically see during this part of the market cycle.
Yeah, completely there with you. So, Doge of the day today? No Doge of the day today?
Why don't you start us off today? I do have a Doge of the day today, but I'll let you start it off.
So I'll go over this one more time, but of course, this is the textbook example of the cup and handle. And then, we do have a lot of kind of V-shaped bottoms in the cryptocurrency market, especially lately. We have a lot of W pattern bottoms where we've actually had like double bottoms in many of the altcoins. But I've looked through a lot of these crypto assets, and I think the one that most resembles the textbook uh, cup and handle pattern is XLM. And if we look, it still does have that kind of, W bottoming pattern. So it's not completely perfect, but I think it is the one crypto asset that I've seen that has really resembled the cup and handle pattern most textbook. So we have the cup there, we have the pullback to support in confluence with the Fibonacci retracements. And so ultimately, our neckline breakout, I shouldn't say neckline. This isn't a head and shoulders pattern. But 40 cents is ultimately that breakout resistance zone. And if we are to start seeing some bullish engulfing candles here, I'm going to look to enter XLM and ride that up, because what you can do is then take the extrapolated measured move from the low to the breakout point, and then you move this particular metric right there, and you extrapolate it from the breakout point, which roughly gives us a target anywhere between these two Fibonacci levels from about 60 cents to say 55 cents, kind of roughly in that target zone. So I really like XLM, and I think it could be very interesting in the coming weeks if we are to see some breakout levels get hit. Not any immediate action right now, just because the market is a little bit uncertain. I want to see it start trending with a little bit more volume before I enter any short-term trades. But I think XLM could definitely be a mover here in the coming weeks based on its technical formation.
I really like that, CJ, also because, it really fits that technical pattern well, because we sold off so sharply directly into that cup formation there that, I could see us definitely regaining those losses in a similarly quick manner. And yeah, very interesting technical formation there. And it does look very, very textbook. So nice one. Thank you. My Doge today is going to be Link. And the reason I'm picking Link today is because basically I'm looking for assets that I think could potentially be some of the first to bounce, from critical levels. And what we're seeing here from Link is a retest of the 20-period smooth moving average. Not many other assets have come down and retested this level yet. I want to take a look at DOT for comparison, similar candlestick formation. But the fact of the matter is, this thing could potentially still go lower, given the fact it's still showing a positive divergence from this 20-period smooth moving average. Link, however, found some support at that 20-period smooth, and I think the likelihood of a bounce, is stronger than an asset like DOT, which is still showing that divergence. So I'm going to be watching Link over the next 24 hours, and similar to how CJ has no immediate action for his trade, I would say the best way to approach this would definitely be to wait for confirmation with tomorrow's candle. If we do get a bounce off this level, it would most likely come in the form of a bullish engulfing candle, or even just sort of a doji candle towards the bottom of this trend here. But yeah, I think that if you find an asset that has, retested critical levels to the downside here, whereas a lot of other assets are kind of, free falling, they may be some of the first to bounce. So that is why I'm looking at Link today as my Doge of the day.
Thank you for that, Monty. And also thank you to Voyager for being the sponsor of this show. Don't forget, if you're looking for a new crypto brokerage, you can get over 12% interest on Polkadot. But I'm also going to let Monty close up. Thank you all very much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Wow, CJ, that timing. I mean, you almost made it so close. It's like they knew we were wrapping up here. and they went ahead and broke out the sandblasters. But man, yeah, thank you to Voyager for sponsoring the show. Like CJ said, some of the most competitive interest rates in the business, up to 10% on USDC, 12% on DOT. Definitely go check them out. And if you do, use code Rebel25 when you sign up. You can get $25 free in Bitcoin just for signing up. And of course, if you want to try the Market Rebellion trading room, you can try it for just $1 for the first month. Come hang out with CJ and I. We're in there 24/7, answering questions. You know, we got a community of traders from all around the world, publish actionable trade insights with entries, exits, stop losses, and a whole lot more. And like I said, you can try it out for just $1. So definitely head over to marketrebellion.com/try crypto. But that's all we got for today. We will be back tomorrow with another Daily Crypto Byte. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you again tomorrow. Take care.